Welcome everybody. It's 7:17 on the clock, the 7 of the chariot, the 17 of the star. Let's go ahead first and take a deep breath. Another deep breath. One more deep breath. Sending lots of love and blessings out to everybody. Let's send some love overseas, okay? And thank you for being here with me. I so appreciate you guys. Okay, so I didn't sleep at all last night. And I'm in a great perspective, but I'm a little bit loopy, so bear with me. I have a few reads here because I've kind of been just doing reads randomly today. So I'll go one at a time, right? Trying to keep my focus. We're going to roll the die as well. My Metatron Read had some really interesting information today. So yeah, some company names came up as well as some other stuff that was very interesting. I have the twin flame read on the table, and I did a message of the day, and then another kind of random read. That's a quick one. So here we're going to do the Metatron read first from today. So here's the Metatron read. Okay, so the underlying energy, the bottom of the deck is here, and this is under. First card out is here with the leadership card, going across and down, and then these three cards here. And then these four, and then these are like an addendum, like a PS. Okay, so this is the Metatron read. We're going to roll the dice first. And today is the 8th of March, 2022 for the Twin Flames. What do the dice have to say for the Twin Flames today at 7:17? All right, so today we have Leo, which is also ego, right? The child who wants to get attention. We have the 4, which is really Jupiter here, which is expansion and benevolence. And then here we have the 6 of the lovers, which is Gemini, which June is also Gemini into Cancer. And it's also love, family, and community. And since that looks like a 4, the Emperor is coming up too with some Aries energy as well. So we have Leo, Sagittarius with Jupiter, and Gemini. Yeah, watch out. That's a whole lot of fun. But yet watch out at the same time. Watch out. So, yeah. So Sag is mutable, Leo is fixed, and Gemini is mutable, right? So the mutable signs they change more easily than the other signs. And that's why they're kind of like the go-between, the communicators between the signs. And then Leo, which can be more stubborn because it's fixed. And then the Sagittarius, which is also mutable, the Gemini. Yeah, and we have the axis of Gemini and Sagittarius today with Jupiter. And Jupiter came up in my read today too. And then Leo is about the sun as well. So let's get right into this. So the Metatron read was done, like I said, I didn't sleep at all last night, so I got up, and at 4:41 I did this read, 4:41 to 42, which is the 4 of the Emperor, the 41, 42 of the Ace and 2 of Cups, very lovely energy there. And the bottom of the deck was creation, which is the 3 of the Empress and Gaia, of joy and coming together in joy. And of course groups and social gatherings, things like that. And I did a little video of the sunrise this morning. Some cool pictures came up. I put them on my Instagram if you want to check that out. And one of the pictures I took that I did post was a beautiful, there was so much, it was the sunrise, at 6:30 this morning. And there's a lot of blue in the sky with the clouds. So it was a very unusual color. It was more like aqua blue and beautiful against the sun rising against the sky. And one of the pictures came up as the 8, like the infinity, which comes up as another shape in my read again today. And so you might want to check that out. There's very, very interesting pictures came out of the sunrise this morning. So the first card out was the leadership card with the 8. I just brought up the 8, which is the infinity, the dance between the masculine and the feminine, the inner and outer strength, the manifestation of dreams, and of course the toroidal field energy. And the colors that came up here were green, yellow, white, indigo, and that's it. Okay, so the green going to the yellow into green, so the solar plexus into the heart energy, really focusing that energy because that's like the corded area to your heart and your solar plexus. And then the energy of the white and indigo, your third eye to the crown and above. Remember that violet, that light violet, is very much the similar, if not the same, as the white energy, which includes all of the colors of the rainbow. Let's see. And as far as elements, we had air and fire. Yeah, that was it. And then that was the cosmos came up at 444, which was the 13th card. And there's that Ophiuchus 13th sign as well coming up. And 444 is very angelic realms energy. 44 is mastering. So, and we're also going from 33% of our DNA usage to 44%, and eventually to the Pleiadian levels in the 80s. And again, 100% of use of your DNA just for a split second is spontaneous healing. So remember that. You only have to hold it for a split second in order to have spontaneous healing, but you have to get to that 100%, which means needing to go into a really deep meditation type of place. So at 4:48, I started interpreting the read, and the 4 of the Emperor and the 48 of the 6 of Cups of walking away and within, the underlying energy after the card of the Holy Grail, because that wasn't part of the read, but it came up there as the gold of the Holy Grail, right? The juicy spot, that sweet spot, the journey of the sacral chakra to the Golden Gate. Travel on with passion and love for life on Earth, Terra, Gaia, wherever you are, with the collective awakening and the abundant spring coming. With the first card out being the leader of the dance, answering the call, shining your light as the Atlas or the Rock of Gibraltar, perhaps. And Gibraltar always comes up as the GI, the British GI altar, which it is English, okay? Even though it's in like Spanish territory, it's English property there. And that, so instead of going from 44 to 8 here, we're going from 8 to 44, which is going back to the 3D. So you may not feel like you're connecting as well as you usually do because you're being pushed back out into 3D to deal with energies in 3D, to set natural boundaries, remember love and patience and nature, and pick up the key through the arcs and the gateways towards the sun as the sun goes over the day into the sunset eventually, with patience and balance. A family gathering perhaps at dawn for travel to family or for satisfaction to the Golden Gate, perhaps an invitation here to heal the Emerald Heart with the Knight of Cups, which is all about being love. And then the K, which was funny because K Moon came up on my feed this morning. The K of the energy, and that was at 5:07, which is the Hierophant and the Chariot, or Taurus and Cancer. And the Carpenter Bee, pollinating joy, a wake-up call to align, to listen and note, or tone perhaps, the trumpeter's calling to the aqua rose gold heart to open to the love. The dragon pyramid, sunfire, and also who came I can't talk. Enki came up, and on one of Elena Danan's videos, she was talking about her having connected with Enki, which comes up as the dragon god. And here the dragon was coming up associated with Enki, because Enki came up at the end of this read today too. So they're coming up as the dragon pyramid sunfire god, looking back at the birds bringing signs from spirit with love for emotional fulfillment at 518, the Hierophant and the moon. The King of Swords here, with the purifying energy being brought forward of the heart and synchronicities, and astral travel with the cosmos mirroring the wake-up call to untie the karmic knots of conquering your fears about achieving your dreams, and to start today one step at a time. Don't let it overwhelm you, right? You don't need to do it all at once. Just take one step at a time, one thing today. Don't focus on the past or the future, just today. What can you do today? The indigo, complete, whole, and balanced, and or the star as the Queen of Swords, Big Bird, with priorities to take care of, inspire to the arc, or inspiring to arc, which is connecting between two dots in that electric arc, to the King of Wands, who's needing balance today. Okay? So when this King of Wands card comes up in this deck, it's always a need for balance there. There's too much passion there, too much ego. Perhaps after being thrown off. So meditate for clarity on the shadow, fly free in transition to the diamond light on the journey, with Archangel Sandalphon now, which brings up that Saint Dolphin energy of Lemuria, here with you now, with the harp or Lyran energy or lineage at 533, the Hierophant, and the 33 of the Christ consciousness vibration of standing up for oneself without being triggered, or without reacting to a trigger anyway, even if you do get triggered. Learning to see new perspectives, right? Because your emotions are all based on whatever thoughts are coming through. So the underlying energy, and remember that too. Remember that anger is not, you don't just emote anger. You emote anger because of a thought. It's all the thought, which it doesn't always feel that way, right? But it is. It's the perspective and the way you're thinking about something. If you're angry, it's because you're thinking something that's making you angry. The underlying energy here is the travel guide for the Knight of Wands and the Empress. The Knight of Wands, who's got lots of energy and that love for life, and the Empress, who's abundant and who has everything she needs and perhaps control over her life, with passion and creation, and the two of them leading the family through spring and summer, the carpenters perhaps, and dragons or dragging-ons. The pillar of light, stand strong, shining your light to the Golden Gate and beyond, from that 33% DNA to the 44, which was interesting because that's the name of my business as well, Twin Flames 3344, in the call of the wild as the birds say hello. It's a long, long road. So this is coming up again with very many winding curves through the emerald heart and the aqua rose gold heart, or the heart and the high heart, the purity and innocence of the King of Swords, and the indigo Queen of Swords bridging to the King of Wands side. The family and the solar plexus fire of Atlas to Source, and the call to the birds through purifying the heart with patience and balance at 542, which is the Hierophant and the Two of Cups. So then I just did some general cards to continue this, because so I consider this part of the Metatron Read, because it'll reference back to the Metatron Read as well. But so let's see where we are. Okay, so I did this. It's just a random type of read, a general read that I just decided to pull this morning. Okay, so you have a few different decks there. And I started from, this is all the underlying energy down here. This part is all part of the underlying energy. Sorry about that. These two rows, the top of the pile is the buffalo over here. And then these are the cards that I pulled out for the read, all right? So there we have the animal, it's the same as the Message of the Day decks. It's the Animal Spirit deck, the LENORMAND Reverie, the Gilded deck, and the KIPPER deck. So that was at 11:25 to 27 this morning. And I remembered I fell asleep on the couch last night for a little bit, but when I went to bed, then I couldn't fall asleep. And I don't usually fall asleep on the couch, but I did last night. And I remember very vividly seeing some things that I can't remember now, but I also remember very vividly the snow falling, and it was like I was awake. It was a very vivid dream. The snow was falling, which, you know, isn't a big deal. We've had snow this winter and that kind of thing, but there was something very significant about the snow falling. So 11:25 to 27, these cards and the underlying energy was the Three of Swords and the choice of path on the Fool's Journey, or half and half. So that one pile that I showed you was spread out in the underlying energy. It was like the two ends of the coin coming towards the middle, but I didn't realize that till I was reading it halfway through. Because it's the changing of the guard, which it is, but it wasn't just in one direction. It was like in two directions, like the twin flame energy at the same time. And then I was realizing they were showing me the two sides of the coin coming towards the middle together in the changing of the guards. The Three of Swords, choice of path on the Fool's Journey, or half and half, where the horse was in one section and the buffalo was the other. And to catch a thief, for the Queen of Wands here as well. The Knight of Cups upright, coming in to the Emperor reversed. Perhaps he's corrupt and fighting the Knight of Swords upright, who's very much in their integrity, about his disappointment and perhaps our heartbreak regarding the Emperor reversed. With the spiritual union of the loving lady and the power woman, or a mother and daughter here, or Charlie's Angels was coming up, so there could be three women here, with community of wise birds and the Two of Cups direction on the Fool's Journey at the Y in the road, or the 0 point field, or instead of the road, the round, the Y in the round. Oh, that came up in one of the DNA strand that came up today as well. We'll get to that. So after the fox left the hen house, and the rider went on a magic adventure, the Knight of Wands committed to the King of Wands to clean up the mess, the pests, or perhaps the rugrats or kids. With the Queen of Cups, twin bridges, or crossing that bridge when they come to it. The poison snake and the apples, maybe the reference here. Remember that that's the vehicle of infiltration and transition of a child, perhaps, and trying to just allow things to go with the flow and through the transition without this child getting sucked into being forced to do anything. With Mr. Ed surrounded by the moth to the flame and the octopus teacher, or the mothership here, the mainframe, the source to the mainframe, and the dragonfly, which was really interesting because in watching Michael Salla the other day, the Black League ship called the Dragonfly came up from him. I don't know if it was his very last video, but it was with Elena Denon and what is his name? I'm just blanking out. So it was Elena Denon and someone else. You'll see it. It's either the last video he did or maybe there's another one that's been posted. I don't know. But the Black League ships came up called the Dragonfly. And then the Butterfly came up as well, which could be another ship, right? Because they're both flies. And then the Bengal Tiger came up later today as well. So again, Mr. Ed, which is the horse, and I always get Saggy as that God energy of Mr. Ed, right? The talking head that's all about expansion, surrounded by the moth to the flame. And I've told you before too that I've gotten God's birthday as both December 7th and the 13th, which makes sense because that's a week. And then we have... and also Jesus' birthday is January 7th, not the 6th or other dates, but the 7th I was getting. Transforming with the tiger, which is a white bangle, on the prowl with the fox, and there's a leak in the seal. where the Eagle has landed. At Oyster Bay was coming up, which is North Shore, Long Island in Nassau County. But also the Pinot Noir 95 was coming up with the gold medal. Now it's in its 38th year, which is the Queen of Cups. The International Wine Challenge, for those of you who like wine, that was coming up for some reason. And then also the Oyster Bay was coming up as the golf course in North Carolina. Oyster Bay with 18 courses, which again, there's that purple moon energy. With the Otter and the Lamb, very innocent energies, or children perhaps. And Hilton Head Island was coming up as well, with Crow standing guard as the 3D gate holder for the collective awakening. So then something else that Michael Salla had brought up regarding that ship, the Dragonfly, was the gate of that's with the Sumerians at Ur. There's a stargate there between what I was getting here. So the location of Sumer and Ur is between the Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf, close to the Gulf. And this was coming up from editioncnn.com, which then Ed from Edition was coming up as Mr. Ed. And on May 2nd, 19, oysters in the UAE was coming up. And that has to do with the Arab where am I looking for? Well, anyway, the Arab nations there, oysters in the UAE, which also UAE is a fibroid. The warm waters, the oyster they found in 19 were new oysters, right? They're known for their pearl oysters, not food oysters. So May 2nd, 19, they all of a sudden were getting these food oysters there that they'd never had before, and there are a huge amount of them now, which would help their food community there, where the warm waters there let them grow much faster than the other areas that grow food oysters. Flourishing in the Persian Gulf, again, the edible kind, and then Dibba Bay, I think, is the company that they were dealing with. Another oyster bay was the Gulf Shores in Alabama. And then, more significantly, it was coming up the Gulf of Oman on the coast of Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know how it's pronounced, but Hormuz was coming up as the whore muzzled. So that's the Mary Magdalene energy. Remember that Ho, or the Ho, is also she, not necessarily the whore energy. So it's referencing the she of the divine feminine who has been muzzled in the Strait of Hormuz, or Hormuz, however it's pronounced, on the coast of Iran. And my Nat showed up with Hormuz. So that's, unforgettable. So don't forget that. So the Strait of Hormuz, or Hormuz, I don't know how it's pronounced, was 1148, which is justice and the Eight of Cups of walking away and within. And so inland to the Gulf of Oman in the east and marked by the major river delta there, and the Shat al-Arab, which is fed by the Euphrates water. So the UAE, the Emirate of the United Arab Nations, and here was coming up the location where those oysters are, 2 hours north of Dubai, where the oysters only take 8 to 12 What did I write there? They take a much shorter time to develop. Is it days or months? I guess it's months, right? So it's coming up as 8 to 12, which was significant because 8 to 12 came up for me in another time. So these oysters, there's something about these oysters that are going to teach us something for something else. And there's some DNA stuff that's coming up today as well. So again, these oysters in Dubai, or wherever it is, it's near Dubai, that only take 8 to 12 months to develop. And again, it's DIBBA, Dibba Bay oysters, 2016. The oysters require very clean water to survive too, which is great because when you see those oysters there, you know the water is clean. So again, because usually oysters grow in, I guess, colder waters, but here where they are growing, it's warmer, and actually they're growing faster. So from strategypage.com, before I checked out of looking at what I was just looking at, there was a picture of a craft over a historic structure there, which was then taking me back to Michael Sala's video. And this picture was from July 25th, 05. And this was at 11:55, Justice and the Truth. July 25th, 05, the Army C-23, which C for me is the Whispering Bench, and the 23 is the King of Wands. And we have the Army here, and Michael Sala always talks about JP, which is his contact, who's been going on missions, going through portals, right? He's the one who dealt with the floating bubble and rescuing the soldiers from the bubble, and the Indians, I forget what tribe it was, who went missing, and so they had to go back for another mission to get them back, and also walked in on these soldiers in the bubble that they rescued. So that's JP from Michael Sala's video. And so he's an Army, I think it's Army, but the Army C-23 Sherpa was coming up. And I have a connection to that name, Sherpa. So the aircraft, this aircraft flew over a ziggurat at Iraq, U.S. and Iraqi forces both preserving and protecting this monument here. Built many centuries ago by the Sumerian king. And the photo there was by Suzanne Day or Dodge, I think Day. So again, going back to my read, and there was definitely a leak being shown, that there's a break in the seal with the Lunar Module Eagle, which is coming up as the equipment from Northrop Grumman and NASA. The Eagle, there's a line of spacecrafts they use for the satellites here. The Lunar Module Eagle, of course, was that first one in '69, July 20th, with Apollo 11 on Columbia with Neil Armstrong. And then this is the website from Northrop Grumman with the Core Eagle-0, which is the Eagle-S configuration. And then there's another Eagle 1 and 2, which are like options to add on to this. So the evolution of the flight design, a proven design, at the low-cost, low Earth orbit, which is referenced by Leo. Okay, so that's important to know, because the low Earth orbit quantum energy that Starlink and companies like that are going to be using is that Leo energy. And then the Geo sign Kronos orbit, which is the GEO as opposed to LEO. And Geo was also significant because Cryon said that's where we're going to get our energy from. We're going to find a way of not having to dig quite as deep to use the geothermal energy, which would be free to everybody. So that it would be half as deep, and then it would make it feasible for us to actually get it out of the ground on a regular basis. So both those are very significant. The low Earth orbit, which is where we're going to have our communication source without 5G technology, Leo, and the geosign Kronos orbit of Geo, and further, right? So the Leo is probably closest to the Earth, and then Geo, and including deep space missions as well, going further out. With the Eagle-0, which is the Eagle-S, the Lunar Observation and Sensing Satellite, which is the L-Cross, or LaCrosse, LCROSS, which also can be referenced as LT, right? Because cross is a T. And that was the list of launching stuff. And they were EELV, which energetic exchange comes up for me all the time, which is that EE, and then L is the right angle, V is creation, so that was very significant. The name Falcon, there's Falcon 1E as well as Falcon 9. The Minotaur, IV was one of the names as well, which comes up all the time. Taurus, 3210, and Delta 2 were all of the names of the launching stuff that they needed to launch these satellites. So the Eagle has landed at oyster, otter, and lamb, which are very vulnerable, or young children here. The Otter Bay was also coming up here at the Gulf Islands, Pender Island, British Columbia. The Lamb launch pad, number 18, was also coming up, as that's a premium colostrum powder. So it's immunoglobulin antibodies to enhance the value of the colostrum feed to the calves, the lambs, the goat kids, and in the first 24 hours of life. So these kids that I'm referencing could literally be animals that are being taken care of as well. But it's definitely some of the vulnerable ones, whether it's animals, the children, perhaps children who've been abused, who've been sent off planet to heal, and maybe some of them still need to get transported across the bridge and getting help with doing that. Carolyn Lamb also came up with the Lamb and the Stargate Omnipedia from gateworld.net with the Stargate SG-1, which was a TV series, 1997 to 2007. And it was interesting because the episodes, and this is back in 2007, were listed as the key episodes where Daniel and Vala consciousnesses were sent to distant galaxies by an ancient device, which then, of course, brought me right to Elena Danaan and Megan Rose, because they both have devices in their head, which is why they can stay in constant contact with their Pleiadian rescuers. So if you're not familiar with them, you might want to check out their channels. And then the Origin episode, where they fight for their safety to destroy the device that incapacitated them. But I know in Elena Danaan's situation, what the Greys implanted in her head, the Pleiadians couldn't get out safely, so they left it in there and just tweaked it to be able to stay in communication with them instead. So then, and also the name then in the Babylon episode came up Volnek, which is very close to Valnek, which is Megan Rose's contact. Elena's contact is Thorhan, and they're friends. They work together, Thorhan and Valnek. And so, of course, Elena and Megan also connect from time to time since they have that connection in the Pleiades. That's the same. The Fourth Horseman episode, part 1 and part 2, then came up, diagnosing the plague at the Stargate Command, unable to stop it from spreading onto Earth. And then the part 2 about her father being infected by the plague, and then learns why he was so perhaps disconnected as a parent when she was a child. So again, there's that wound work and the ripple effect of the parallel reality and duplicate copy of the SG-1 arrives. And then the last episode listed there was Family Ties, which I was connecting with Megan Rose, and her last name being Rose was also significant here, where that last episode they convinced the father to have dinner with the mother, Kim, when they come into town. And it's interesting too, because on one of the pictures I posted, I put a little signature of my initials on the bottom of it. And the way I wrote it was a way I'd never written it before, which was the EE of my first and middle name. And then the S ran through the two E's, but was very significant because the S, the EE, of course, was coming up today, but also the S came up in a symbol. It's Sophia, but it's also, I just lost my voice, but it was also a cross symbol in the new DNA strand, which is going to come up in a second. So then I went back to the cards again, and I kept going back to this other information because I kept bringing in more stuff. So again, the eagle landed, and again, the eagle is the tag for Michael Salla. And I told you before that endearingly, he reminds me of the Eagle Muppet, right, in a very cute way. But the eagle has landed, which also has to do with these satellites landing in space or getting up there. And then the letters from the cards were coming up EAOYOTLA. And OYOT means root, and EALA means swan or hail or ohei. So, and I was seeing Toyota in there too, so there's definitely Japanese energy coming up here. And then it was funny, EA and LA, because EA, or Elizabeth, was in LA, but she lives in Canada. I think she's back in Canada now, but she was in the LA area for a while. I think she was south of LA, actually. But that's coming up as well. And there's a whole bunch of names that were coming up. Michael, Elizabeth, Cheryl, Lucy, Tom, Holmes, and then Katie was coming up too. And the company Sherlock Bio came up, as well as the company, where was it? Apache Tomcat Software came up. Okay, Apache Tomcat Software, you might want to check them out, and Sherlock Bio. Neither one of them are on the stock market as of yet. I don't know if they're planning to go public, but they came up for a reason, so you might want to check them out if you're resonating with that. Sherlock Bio applies the COVID testing methods to other diseases. They can do quick testing for other diseases, not just COVID. So that was interesting. They got a whole lot of money to do that. And they got 80 million plus, I think it was 111 million altogether, to develop CRISPR, which is CRISPR based diagnosis system. That's Sherlock Bio. Apache Tomcast was a software company. You can read. It might have been a little bit over my head, so you can check that out if you're into software. So then so Hail to the Swan here coming up with the root in the middle. The root, it's like the root in the middle with the gates on either side, or the pillars on either side. And this came up in another symbology that hasn't come up yet as well. And again, Toyota was coming up in this as well. And then the bat and the ball was coming up, and then Lucy was coming up with the ball. And ground control to Major Tom. And like I said, Tomcat went into Katie Holmes and Apache Tomcast software. So going back to the read of eating the oyster, the otter, the lamb, and eating crow. And then that's where Cheryl was coming up. So the changing of the guards, ground control, the eagle has landed. The bat, however, is lost in space. Will Robinson, the unicorn is still at the space gate to guide them back to Buffalo, which is New York, which is also capital N-Y, which capital N for me is Christ, and the Y is the Y in the road, the 0 point. So that's the Christ consciousness at the Y in the road, New York. So Buffalo is coming up here. Long Island comes up here today, so New York was definitely in the know here about this stuff. The space gate to guide them back to Buffalo or New York, and the Christ consciousness at the Y in the road. And then bat was coming up as really significantly here. So first it was coming up regarding baseball and the bat and the ball, but it was really coming up as in bat mitzvah. So bat and bat mitzvah refers to the girl who's getting mitzvahed. And so it was very interesting, all the definitions of bat and what the girl means. So listen to this. So getting over the bridge, Buffalo, and remember Buffalo is right there at Niagara Falls, which is near Canada, and that's where these bridges come into play. The first thing that came up online, though, was the definition, or how to say bat in other languages, the animal. And that was languagedrops.com. So one of the names was E-L, La Chauve-Saurus in French. And again, the person I just had a session with, who's Arcturian, she's half Arcturian, literally, her father's Arcturian. And she, her name is Vivian Chauvet, so Chauve, who was coming up here. So she was coming up. And then I-L in Italian, USU also coming up as Usu. And anyway, a whole bunch of names for the bat. But also, did you know that the bat is the name of the locust in the African Herod? And Louis came up here as well, which was very interesting because my biological grandfather that I never knew, because we didn't know he was our biological grandfather, because my father never told us, and he died in his 60s, so we never knew him. He was a Parkinson's doctor who did research on the Lewy bodies and Parkinson's disease. So it's very interesting. The Lewy was coming up here regarding Parkinson's disease and the Lewy bodies, and again having to do with gray and white matter in the brain and all that kind of stuff. But the bat is also the Atalef from BibleHub.com, the At-al-Lafi or Atalef. And again, I wasn't raised speaking Hebrew, so I'm not pronouncing them correctly, but that's okay. So PaleoHebrewDictionary.org, this was coming up from. So the bat symbol in Hebrew was really cool because it was very similar to the Om. But instead of the 30 type of symbol, it was an O of dots, and then the same kind of crowning above the Om with the line crown and then the dot above it. And then the symbol, it looks complicated at first, but when you look at it, it's actually a capital T with an S across it on its side. So T and S, which is the T of time out, toggling up, the dead end, the S of the Sophia, which I always talk about, but the S can be many other things as well. Whatever comes to you, that's true for you. And then the Om with the space at the end, very similar to this. So the other definitions for the bat of bat mitzvah, or the daughter, is the apple of the eye, right? So is that reference to Adam and Eve and the apple and the eye of the third eye. The daughter, the branch, the company, the first, the old owl, town, and the 1/10 of ass load or donkey, the don key. 72 logs, there's the 72 by 2 of liquid, and possibly 22 liters. There's the 22 of the fool's journey. The bat being BT, and also 9 or B-BA, the house or family, and being in, and then the mark or sign, the covenant, the signature, the ID of people, places, and things. So the eagle landing, and then the Pearl Harbor comes up as the Pearl Harbors, or as harvesting pearls, and then the Japanese came up, but also the Jap of the Jewish American princess, and the Strait of Hormuz came up again regarding the hoe, which is not just a whore, but she who's been muzzled, the bat who's been muzzled, and the Strait of Hormuz, which is the straight flush, was coming up of embarrassment of she being muzzled, the closed oyster with their feelers out, the eagle got talons on, the otter who's curious, and the lamb as target practice, the crow at the 3D gate, the unicorn at the 5D gate, it's the masculine and feminine gate holders, and the bat lost in space, who's defined as the bat, dirty, virus-spreading daughter, airhead, meeting or needing to come down to earth from the clouds. I love Lucy, which is Luce, the right angle of you on the whispering bench at the 0 point Y in the road journey, with the pearl harboring oyster all clammed up with the otter and the lamb, and the bat, the problem child, being paired with now buffalo to ground them well, so either punishing them or helping them to learn how to ground, or diving deep for oysters together. The eagle is like the dog, rounding up the horses or sheep, the little ones and wild ones, to bring to bridge and help them across. And what I was getting is from Canada to the US, so I don't know who's coming over, with buffalo waiting on the other side. Single file, ground control to Major Tom. Bat got lost on their way to the other side, sending J.P. Morgan, and this was coming up, J.P. is that soldier that Michael Sala talks to, his contact who goes on those missions about going through the portals, and the arcs at the bottom of the oceans. Or the bat is remote viewing. So then I was getting it at 111 that the virus was actually helping some to bridge. Not the other thing, but the actual virus was helping some to bridge this whole thing that we've been through the past 2 years, to get the kids to the other side. Z was coming up here too. So getting to the other side, to the 5D, without injection, or JP, the army soldier, on a rescue mission, and then Japanese again was coming up, as well as Z and Jewish American princess all coming up here. And then JP and Lucy were coming up, which when I looked that up, from the Sun Sentinel, which I just brought up as a title, JP from Power 96 on the morning show with Lucy Lopez from 6 to 10 a.m. weekdays in Miami. And this was coming up as an article from 2018, 117, 2018, when they left the channel for whatever reason to go do something else for a while. But it was an English and Spanish partners talking about being parents and life in Miami. And also he had written like 6 novels, so if you want to check them out, you can. And then Lucy was coming up very significantly because Lucy is the NASA space probe that was launched in October 2021 on a 12-year journey to 8 asteroids and 7 Jupiter Trojans, calling Trojans, which are horses, right, vehicles of infiltration, to be up there for 12 years, which would last till 2033, the Christ vibration or Christ consciousness, and these being types C of the whispering bench, P of the pin of the masculine without the feminine, and then the D of the divine, but it's also the 1 in the backwards C, the reflection of the whispering bench. So dark red P and the D was coming up as a type of Trojan, and resembling the Keeper belt of the icy bodies to orbit up and beyond Neptune here. The C types were mainly between Mars and Jupiter. And again, that's where Elena talks about the motherships coming in, a new mothership from a much higher dimension, which I was getting that the arcs at the bottom of the sea are actually grounding plugs for these high vibe arcs coming in so that they actually be here. The picture of what they were showing Lucy and the path that Lucy's going to be taking up around Jupiter and stuff really literally looked like a muzzled mushroom soldier that I'd gotten from doing a meditation with Jen McCarty a long time ago. I think it was last year. But it was also that same type of shape that I was getting in my picture from this morning. So here is the path that Lucy's going to be going on. So here's the Earth. It's going around the path in that 8 format, right? Like this. And it's actually around this. So this is Jupiter, and this is the Earth. And this is actually the Earth too, but I just didn't have enough room to draw this over this part. So they go together. So that's actually the path that Lucy's orbiting in the shape of an 8. So, and there's 2 little donuts here are the Trojans, 2 of the Trojans of the 7 that they talked about here. Around the sun is the dot in the middle, then the Earth, and then Jupiter's the outside piece with the 2 Trojans there. Trojans L4 and L5. Well, that's interesting too, because the L4, L5 disk is very significant for infiltration, right, to help to give us back problems. So the Trojans are thought to be abundant in dark carbon compounds and probably rich in water, where their location is under a blanket of dust, and they're also thought to have other volatile substances there. So CPD was coming up here as the types of Trojans here, and CPD came up as critical point. Did I write dying? Might be critical point dying, or it's also Chicago Police Department, and then chloroplast DNA, which is a plant DNA, and it also means compound. Okay. So then back to my cards again, and the pile is still in the underlying energy of the 2 piles that were separate and look like they're coming together to the middle, like the 2 opposite ends of the coin. So again, the 2 in halves at 148, the Magician and the 8 of Cups again walking away and within. And here we are with Mr. Ed in one group. And then Nat came by when I was talking about the gate holders. And then the Gulf of Oman came up with Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, and the Hor, or she, who is muzzled, and the Delta there, and the 2 hours north of Dubai, as JP, the soldier, as the King of Wands here, whispering with Sherpa and the aircraft over the castle there of the Sumerian king, and the eagles, Leo and Geo, and the IV cross. The Taurus, Delta, IV, and Falcon. I think that's supposed to be L cross, but IV is coming up here as well. Taurus, Delta, IV, and Falcon as the launching vehicles. And the Minotaur and EELV. And again, bringing forward the Valnek and Megan Rose, and the ripple effect here, which is the patterns like the rose, the golden mean. Then the Gulf of Mexico is coming up at 157, the Magician and the 3 of Swords. So please, if any of this stuff is stuff that's come up for you for a reason, please say so in the comments and why it's come up for you. And when I looked up the Gulf of Mexico, there was an article about the direness of the future of the Gulf of Mexico that's being projected by the UN report. They call it the quote-unquote Atlas of Human Suffering because of the polar caps melting due to warming. And of course, they're a threat to Louisiana and Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, and Texas down there. So the Trojan horses in the picture that I showed you in space at the Jupiter with Lucy, and Lucy is again the right angle of L, the U of U, but the U is also coming up as the new DNA of U, which we haven't gotten to yet. But the U shape is like the new DNA. It wasn't just the two strands that you normally see on the ladder, right? The whispering bench at the Y in the road, which we were aware of that, right? That our DNA is changing because we're upgrading to 12 from 2 back to our original DNA. And the 7 Trojans, which is reflecting the 7 sisters of infiltration, right? The Pleiadians infiltrating on our behalf, are helping us and supporting us in our clearing off the planet. So these Trojan horses, the infiltrators, the Pleiadians, and then Lucy in the sky with diamonds, is the Lucy that I just explained to you in the sky, and diamond is 2 almonds, or 2 eyes, 2 petals. The 2 almonds, or the number 8, which is 2 almonds. The path of Lucy was that number 8, and also like the sky pic I had this morning with the number 8 in it as well. The changing of the guards, ready to change positions, as from Robert's space was coming up the Dragonfly ship. I looked that up to see where it was coming from. And the Bengal, what was coming up under the Bengal is the Bay of Bengal. And that was around where the Andaman and the Nicobar Islands are, in the Bay of Bengal. And also some cargo ships were coming up that had issues and weren't allowed to pass, or whatever the problem was. They might have lost cargo. And then Sri Lanka is around that area as well, around India, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Indonesia, around that area there, and Burma. So the switch is going on here with the Trojan horse and then the satellite eagle, where the Trojan horse has the vulnerable little ones behind them, but the satellite eagle has the vulnerables in front of them or ahead of them. It's like they're helping them cross over the bridge. The grounding mechanism of the dragonfly, which can reference the arcs now that I'm saying that, the arcs at the bottom of the sea or the land, what they're fighting over in Ukraine right now is for an arc. Russia already has an arc north, and then they have this west one in Ukraine that they're taking control over because they've already got control over the northern one. And you can't operate these arcs without the right DNA, without the right coding. So the grounding dragonfly here, the vehicle, is coming up as changing of the guards with the crow, but then the crow also changing guards with the dragonfly. So it's a two-way exchange. And then the etheric gate is the tiger and the unicorn doing the same thing, both going at the same time. You know, it's like a switch, you know, like a Godfather type of money switch, right, for whatever they want, like for the hostages. So it could be a hostage trade, literally. And then the butterfly for the bat. Those are kind of like the 2 lost in space, the innocent ones, right? Because the butterfly in this deck is very vulnerable. They've just transformed, and so they're still very vulnerable. And the bat's lost in space. So this bridge here, and then the fox and the buffalo change places as the receivers in the 5D for the vulnerables to come to, right? Those who will ground them and make them feel better. Or, you know, if it's a kid up to something, you know, they get grounded. And then Les Mis was coming up for whatever. So it's leading me to believe that it's the tortured children, because they would be the Les Miserables. So the courtship of Eddie's father is then coming up, which is then the Godfather. Inspired by unexpected income or incoming children, the eagle has landed. High honors of the Knight of Swords, or JP, on that mission, or on a send-off to the King of Cups on their own, without much, right, not without any luggage, and this could be poverty as well, to let go of all their stuff, perhaps going to a mature, loving woman with false couple, or mask issues, or the tango of the boy with their mother or grandmother, or a man with an older woman, perhaps with empty nest or an empty room, or complete with 777 and sudden wealth, alignment or justice, and the change of residence, car, or hermiting changes, to catch a thief, Queen of Wands, or deal with a car salesman, or pitch. That can be sound pitch as well, because when they talked about the floating bubble that had the soldiers in it that they rescued, there was definitely a high-pitched energy in there as well, which makes sense. So at 240, which is the High Priestess and the 40 of the Page of Cups, this also could be just a son who perhaps needs to come home and needs some help. Or Mr. Ed, or the horse, goes to Buffalo to have a chat about bridging Niagra, or US, or us and them, which is US and Canada, perhaps a steal. Heartbroken Queen of Pentacles on the Fool's Journey of the horse, or the whore that sees. Remember that hoe is also she, or it's she, RSE, which is the rose. She Rose, which also can reference Megan Rose as the horse. The RSE also means the ring strain energy, right? The pressure of that ring formation, and related to sexual education as well. She, with the ruby slippers, the sapphire crown, and the emerald heart. The ruby, sapphire, emerald, with ring cutting off her circulation, or energy needed related to relationship and sexual education here. Buffalo, polished, right? Buffalo is buff and aloe. Hello, buff man. So the buffalo is literally polished, a strong person who's very interested in a certain subject. Compressive coupler force, occurring during a slack of bunched condition, which is that quantum entanglement energy. The bare skin and attractive, or to modify a medical chart in a dishonest manner, to strike face armor, neck gaiter or a bandana, a beefsteak or marshmallow, a cream puff, the scarlet marrow of the nose. Oh, the scarlet macaw of the nose and the wing, the flank and the branch, so extensions here, facing and present, grinding, fostering, raising, healing, maintaining and developing kids and or animals here. So there could be some safe houses or families that these kids are going to. Yawning with bear and hello, smooth, soft stomach, belly or underbelly, and cold front, which boy, did we have a cold front. It was so warm yesterday and today it got freezing again. A cold front to be engaged in, pay attention to row, to paddle, for at any rate or any event, you had me at hello. She rose and buff aloe, where the horse became the unicorn, to stand by buffalo's side where they roam, dreamy and well-grounded, and at a theater near you with popcorn at 258, which is the High Priestess and the Four of Swords, the 5E connection. The Knight of Swords reversed and the Empress upright, with wise owls, the grounder and the flyer reaping rewards, grounding, integrating, and mastering at the Wine the Road the details, or the GIM, which is the gym, taking a closer look or inspecting every inch, or seeing things in cards that you never noticed before, perhaps. The spider in the rainbow web, listening to the hummingbird sing, and clear, with the nightingale purifying the air with their sweet breath, which could be a little baby. Rocky raccoon sent to their room, so definitely someone's grounded here, as the dragon flies to Phoenix to see the camel a bit blue without you, or the spy who loved me and the hum at night, or birds singing nighty night, or speaking sweetly to the spiders. And this could be children all of a sudden learning how to become one with the different animals and insects and things like that instead of killing them. Showing the raccoon, or Ray, as Dr. A, or Agon, or Dr. Dre, a foe that is nixed here, or nix tickets in nosebleeders, or phoenix rising between the dragon keeping an eye on the little ones, while the camel is dry and blue, with hugs and kisses at the Y in the road, or in need of sunshine, or fire dragon, or Enki, exposing all, or Allo. The Allo always reminds me of the wedding, not the wedding singer, what's it called, with Jennifer Lopez, when she's the wedding planner. The wedding planner, that's what it is. So her husband that her dad fixed her up with, this is who that reminds me of when he keeps saying, "Hello, hello." So that's the hello I'm getting, this really sweet energy, which he was very sweet and committed to her. So again, the fire dragon of Anki, which is a mischievous god, right? Exposing all, or saying, hello. A mature man of the world gets or receives a message. So gets or sends a message of concern here at 308, which was interesting because today is 38, which is the Empress and the Dance, or the manifestation of dreams. So some kind of message of concern here with the marriage of shadow lovers, or the Empress wife, devil lover, and the Queen of Cups, who's toiling and laboring. And that can also be, a mother with her daughter giving birth, and the kid giving birth is saying, this is the devil child coming out of me. That could be as well. But then I got an Independence Blue Cross text, which is coming up as the Independent Blue and Cross at 310, which is the Empress and the 10 of that high vibration. And the sapphire, so the ruby, sapphire, and emerald stuff was coming up here too as a sapphire necklace. The Independence Blue Cross. So the Empress and the Queen of Cups journeying to see the Lady in Waiting at 28, with or for the wealthy man in transition, or of despair, or the pair on the journey, or Taurus man and patient angel, or Sagittarius with a message of concern, the Taurus female or wife or ex, and shadow lovers with the Queen of Cups, or devil, or Capricorn between them, or coming from two sides of the same coin, the horse to the dragonfly, that's two hearts as one, and the buffalo meets the unicorn, and Batman gets lost in space-time continuum, and ends up eating crow, or Atlas's replacement anyway, or if they're Atlas, where Hercules let you off the hook at 318, which is interesting because it's coming up as a halfway mark or point, because it's my birthday half year, 318, which is coming up. So then more names were coming up. So Amy, Jimmy, and Stephen were coming up, and the littles, again, my opposite time of the year, or the halfway point to the birthday, which is 918, or 636 was coming up, because 318 and 318, the halfway point, is 636. So, of course, I looked it up in the Gematria, and it was Almighty God, God Almighty, Ray God, and Bible Anki, the dragon god of mischief. It also was coming up as a meaning of numbers, and again, Almighty God, and then the number 40, which is also the emperor, and then pregnancy and birth and Brittany, which is funny because my nephew got married last year, and his wife Brittany is pregnant. She hasn't delivered yet. So pregnancy and Brittany came up, and the rapture date, which can be the date of delivery, whether that's a child or something else you're delivering. And then Satan was coming up as an Seytan, not as in Satan, and the alphanumeric code of God, and then the number in Roman numerals 11XX11, which is literally the 1111, which is the pillars, and the two twins within their masculine and feminine. The X's are the middle of the eights, so it's the crazy eights dancing within the pillars at the Golden Gate. The Psyche being was also coming up here, and then Tao Shin came up. I think it was Tao Shin Ta. I forget exactly which order it came in, but all they found with that stuff were games. So it comes up as meaning the Church of Divine Paths or the Dragon Lance from fandom, whereas Shin Tao is bipedal wolves, right? So upright wolves who live very peaceful and wise lives or existences. So Shin Kof Teth was also coming up, which is the mountain goats, which is a song from the mountain goats, I guess. That's all I saw. And again, the mountain goats were bringing back the 5 wounds I did yesterday, because the acronym of the 5 wounds of JHAR, there's 5 of them, 1, 2, JHARB were the 5 in the acronym, but there was no word with the 5 letters in it. But these 2 words both had 4 of the letters and were missing the same letter that the other had. So JHARAL and BHARAL. So there's an addition of the AL there, or all, which referenced the Himalayan blue sheep and wild goats. The J was the wild goat, and the B, or the 13 of transition, was the blue sheep, which can reference the feminine. But they were both Himalayan, but totally separate definitions. So the blue sheep is without the masculine, or the J, but the wild goat without the B can't exist without the feminine, okay? Because the feminine has 2 X's, remember. She gives birth, she can exist on her own, but the masculine has XY. So he's not considered independent, very interestingly, because he is very independent, but in an earthly way, not in that spiritual and ascension way. And right, and where would he be without the feminine, right? Because the masculine lives on that sexual drive. So it's very interesting. 11XX11 was coming up. It was coming up as 2 females in a portal, 2 X's in alignment, 2 sets of lovers on a double date, or the Empress between lovers. It was also coming up as 2 sovereigns standing side by side in alignment, or a coming together or reunion between lovers. And yeah. Okay. So maybe I'll do that one. Let's see here now. Now I have to go back to, what didn't I do? I did Metatron. Okay, so now I have a message of the day. So let's find my message of the day here to show you. So here's the message of the day. And again, these are my 4 decks. The underlying energy is right here, and then it goes bum, 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 this pile, and then this is the last pile down at the bottom. Okay, so that's the order of everything. That's the wild unknown animal spirit, the LENORMAND Reverie, the Gilded, and the KIPPER deck. So, but also in that Michael Sala video, Elena said something special was supposed to happen in July. And then when I listened to Sam the Illusionist channeling today, he said something really significant supposed to happen in March as well. So very interesting stuff coming up this spring. And don't forget Starlink, because that's going to be that community technology that's supposed to take us into the future without 5G. So the message of the day was done last night at 10:37 to 39, which is the King of Cups and the Knight of Cups, and that high vibration, with the underlying energy as the fire ants, the lilies, which is number 30 of union, the King of Pentacles upright, and expectations of number 28. And that's the twin flames, or choice of path. The open wound, the accident, the event, were bees to honey, and the mature spiritual union of the King of Swords and the King of Pentacles, with Lady in Waiting at 28. The hyena slinking away as the peacock watches, protecting the worm who's all curled up, protecting their pure energy from the Black Panther coming out of the dark night wounds and trauma, right? Very traumatized. With Justice cracking the whip, with the Page of Wands on the Fool's Journey, with 2 doors to open, diving deep with the Ace of Cups, new love, the King of Wands with pests or rugrats, standing up to the Queen of Cups and twin bridges of spiritual union. The Knight of Pentacles looking forward and going back, dumping a load, a burden, or responsibilities, and perhaps confessing. In a sudden event, epiphany, or sexual or quantum exchange, freed, which frees them and brought them to their knees, the wounded warrior, King of Swords upright, and the King of Pentacles, which can be two separate people or two sides of the masculine here. The main female, after the mature man with a message of concern, to the wealthy man on the wounded warrior's path, of romantic child with mature woman and the main female, or 3 generations of women, or it's just all one and the same person at the house, the big house or gated community with a gift to an ill person, or the gift made them ill, or chaos of healthcare issues, and the Knight of Cups community with the Emperor's courtship or court at 1104 of Justice and the Emperor, and the man with sudden thoughts of a woman, or a false person, or a masked ball, the tango of the man and a woman, and the lady in waiting at 28, or expecting. The event of the season, the mature, peaceful, spiritual union of the King of Pentacles and the lady in waiting, or the twin flame. At 1107, Justice and the Chariot. The first section here is the buffalo and the butterfly. Very well grounded and transforming the butterfly, or again, the buffalo being paired with the butterfly to protect them and ground them. The buffalo and the lover's breakthrough, destined with the Queen of Wands thief, and the butterfly nesting the dream of the golden egg, and the Knight of Cups reversed, jealous of the Queen of Wands high vibe journey, perhaps to catch a thief, or destined to rejection and jealousy. The second section here is the bear and the dear one. The bear, loving woman present with gifts, walking away and within on the journey of despair, or the pair. The dear one is the power lady, also present, offering a new life to the wise privileged lady, or perhaps a daughter. The mother and child, or sisters, or lovers perhaps, leaving for a brand new life. And the third section here is the fox, the shark, and the starfish, with the fox with 2 cups or 2 of cups direction of lovers, and the inspired by the Knight of Wands of high honor. The shark attacking delivery with vigor on a mission to group conflict, or must get past the battle in order to get to their destination. So they got to go through the conflict or the wounding to get to the destination, taking a risk that may not pay off. Or the magician leaves with a fight, and the King of Wands another direction, leaving with nothing, and the starfish travels abundantly to dreams of synchronicities in heaven in their eyes, and hermiting the changes. New passion to compete or fight for their dreams, as the fourth section here is the crow, the cheetah, and the beaver. So here's the crow on guard that we've talked about already, the player and the hardworking beaver. The crow with a big mountain to climb or obstacle, with the King of Wands reversed, upset, or they could be physically abusive as well, with a marriage of convenience or power here. The cheetah is conflicted or ready to pounce, exposing sunshine with issues at work, with the King of Wands in court or filing papers, and the beaver high priestess, divine feminine, with wishes and luck, but the empress reversed, ill, or delivered or out of control and inspired by unexpected income, or perhaps an incoming delivery that came early. The King of Wands reversed with issues at work, with the Empress reversed, and married for money. And this could be something that happened a long time ago. And this could be unexpected income too, and for whoever's birthdays are coming up, it could be an unexpected present that came earlier than their birthday or something like that as well. The fifth section here is the black egg, which is the throat chakra, the octopus, the tiger, the raccoon, the lamb, and the butterfly. The truth of the brain, and perhaps the Lewy bodies, and how the tentacles follow suit or not, like the octopus. The tiger stalking with the raccoon showing them the ropes, showing the raccoon the ropes, checking out the lamb and the moth to the flame, and the black egg of the truth and the magnification of that truth, of defenseless to these energies of the lovers and the shadow. The octopus with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, sneaking out at night to hit the jackpot, perhaps, or gamble. The Tiger inspired by a letter, document, or a bridge to the Queen of Wands. Inspired by great fortune. With the Raccoon standing up for themselves to be freed and drained by the weight of the world, with prospects of distant horizons at 12:10, the Hanging Man and Destiny. So at 12:12, so two hanging men, or people hanging out, the Lamb Knight of Cups is taking a gamble with the Page of Cups, or a loving message to the official person on the Fool's journey. The Moth to the Flame with multiple faces of vulnerability, who may not be sharing with the main male. And this is interesting because Versailles was coming up again last night, the series Versailles. So no excuse for leaving at night to the Queen of Wands, who's drained by the Page of Cups and indebted to them, perhaps, with lovers aligning to sudden wealth and great fortune, or Atlas of distant horizons with official person, or the heir of the main male, or the heir to the throne. The sixth section here is the fish, the dolphin, the frog, and the horse. The fish out of water with friendly dolphin, and the frog in the rain, right, trying to become the prince, looting the horse, Mr. Ed. This could be alluding to Mr. Ed as well. The fish is burdened by a breakup or lack of affection and an empty room. The dolphin, King of Cups, with timelines to recover from a death or exposing a murder. The frog is making cuts that are destined, and the Emperor reversed with the Queen of Cups, working girl, and the horse with wise group of birds, the Queen of Pentacles reversed with man with concerns, and the Queen of Cups upright, who's tired of the King of Cups reversed, in adjudication with a message, the vehicle of infiltration to the King of Cups reversed, of a hectic occupation, or occupation with energetic exchange, or occupational hazard, or the Queen of Cups is longing for the King of Cups reversed, Scorpio, or someone who passed, perhaps from an occupational hazard. At 12:34, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, shut the door. And I got really big connection at 12:31, which 31 is chaos, right? Hanging out in chaos and not being affected by it. All right, so now we're going to go back to the main read. I probably have a little read at the end I can give you as well. Let's see here. So now we have where are you? Okay, here we are. So now we have the picture of, okay, so this is the read in front of you on the table, the 7-deck read. Okay. And this was cut and dealt at 5:06 yesterday afternoon for today. And at 5:32, which is the Hierophant and the 32 of the Journey, whereas the 5:06, 6 is the Lovers. GHT of crystals was coming up, as well as S for Sophia, or whatever's coming up for you for the S. Excuse me. And it was so interesting because right after I was hearing the stuff about the spaceship, literally the code line on here separated into on ship. And that's what Alex Collier was talking about the arcs. And Elena was talking about them being made of crystal consciousness. Like the walls weren't like solid crystals, but they were like clusters and bunches of crystals, and they were alive, they had consciousness. But again, some were locked without keys, right? You have to have the right DNA and the right codes to get in. And that were the original mission with JP, where I don't think it's the Incas, I forget what tribe it was, but they got into a room where the soldiers couldn't get in because they didn't have the right energy or code. So they had to go back and rescue the Native Americans because they didn't know where they went to. Of course, it was more, high vibration energy. So they did find them when they came back to get them, and that's when they found the guys in the bubble, and they had to rescue them too. So at 5:48, I finished this one, and 5 is the Hierophant, the 48 of the 8 of Cups, walking away and within. And we have the Hanging Man, the solar deity. And before the read is the Starseed. After the read is the Strength card in the wheel, with 2 pentacles, 2 wands, 3 pentacles, 2 cups, and and 2 swords. In the read, the court cards were the Knight of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords. Before the read was the Page of Swords. And the numbers in this read were triple eights, very significant, because that literally knocks the 2 8s into the infinity symbol, which is union. We had 66 of the Queen of Pentacles, 77 of the Sovereign, which can be mother and daughter. Those could be 2 women together as well. And the 22 of the Fool and the Fool's Journey, as well as the 23 of the King of Wands. The 89 of the Phi energy, expanding and contracting or staying in the middle, reflecting instead. We also have the 80, the 6, 8, the 1, 2, 3 jump, and the 12 of the Hanging Man, 23 of the King of Wands, we said already. 36 of the Atlas, the Weight of the World, the 10 of Wands. 67 of the Knight of Pentacles, 78 of the 10 of Pentacles, the Dream Family. And the 9, 10 begin again as usual, always coming back to the center in the present moment, to the heart. Also, what else was coming up there? That was it. Oh, and 26, which is the Page of Swords, or Page of Wands, rather. And you notice the King of Wands and Page of Wands came up yesterday, and they're right here next to each other upright, with the Knight of Wands upright here too. So there's really positive energy right there with the King of Wands and perhaps 2 children, the Knight of Wands and the Page of Wands. Or perhaps looking at his life, right, when he was a young child, and then his teenage or 20s years, and then now how far he's come. And on ship again was coming up as significant. And the GHT that came up of crystals could be related to covering or giving, as well as what else is coming up around that? That's probably pretty much it. There's not a specific word that actually is GHT. But of crystals, so again, the crystal walls and the ships we were talking about, crystals also means Christ-like and means cry stalls, which is purging. And then the S of the divine Sophia energy, the south, the salt, whatever S means to you when I say that. The code line was all about the number 3, and the 3 of crystals came up. And intuition and leadership, which were broken up into intuiti and then leader and ship were separated, which is where the on ship came from. And the intuit leader. So the way the messages came up were like this. So the SS, which can be safety and security, suffering and silence. It can be the Nazis, right? Whatever SS is to you. And the southeast, sudden event, or seeing perhaps 9-inch nails. Some of you may have a grandmother who sticks their nails into you when they're mad. But 9-inch nails can also reference the nails into Jesus's body on the cross. The grandmother, the contents, the man, and the twins, and the 3 of Pentacles of coming together to co-create, and the bridge to satisfy their intuition and leadership. Or again, on ship, being the leader with intuition, or the in-twit, I am presence. The twit is the twin towers of you and I in my I am presence on the leadership or on ship or on board, being on board. So if and only if was also coming up here, which has to do with math and logic. But if and only if Sophia, in their wise knowing, as W3 was coming up here as well, which W is 2 U's, and the 3 of crystals, which is being at work co-creating, the twin flame co-creation, to have and to own, perhaps a bag or a saw being the key here. So again, the key was coming up as a bag, a sack, a saw, or a tool, or a bag of coarse cloth. So if something comes up for you regarding that, please put that in the comments as well. Safety and security, wise knowing before the 2 U's work on I am in taking ownership of self-satisfaction. In twit I, the twit is the twin towers of you and I, in the I am presence as a leader on ship before coming into union. In twin towers, you and I, one leader on ship. Okay? So, what else was coming up there? Sophia, southeast was coming up as well, or sudden events, and the grandmother knowing about the two yous working to bridge and take ownership of covering and each other and giving to each other and taking responsibility for your own satisfaction, or sack and saw being the key on ship. I was just getting the good ship lollipop again. And so Shirley Temple's coming up. I'm getting Annie too for some reason. Okay. So then I looked up saw key to see if there was any specific keys they wanted to lead me to in the DNA perhaps, and a picture of the DNA came up with thymine, which is the T in DNA. And that was coming up from DNA-worldwide.com. And this was coming up as Ho DNA timeline. And we just established already that Ho means she. The Divine Feminine DNA timeline was literally the title of this. ABC News from February 18, 22, explainer, why would the world's leaders balk at giving Putin DNA? And again, this was them not wanting to give their DNA away because of what they could do with their DNA. The Russians wanting Macron's DNA, and the key to ancestry, etc. It's the key to crime and drugs, like if they have any drugs in their system, or again, you know, crime, having evidence of a crime. And the DNA and also can be keys, right? Literally, your DNA are in your eyes, and your DNA are keys to get in, just like the ship that I told you about. Without having a key on you, you are the key. So again, the political leads don't want to give their DNA to the to the enemy there. So literally here was coming up a new DNA that came up in an article 5518. It's called I motif, I separately from MOTIF, a completely new DNA structure in human cells. But again, this was from rankred.com from May 5th, 18. I think it was in Australia. It's a 4-stranded knot of DNA where C letters, which is the whispering bench, or cytosine in DNA, on the same DNA strand that bind to each other, where usually the C's don't bind to each other. And they called it looking like a twisted knot. Again, the quantum entanglement. The DNA of the deoxyribonucleic acid with adenine, which is the A, cytosine, which is the C, guarine, which is the G, and then the thymine, which came up as the T, but also thyme came up, as in the spice time, but also can reference as time, like this time-space continuum. So thymine was very significant here. The order determines the genetic code. So there's a different structure here than the double helix. A new short extension stretches out from the DNA, where the old C would bind to the G and opposite strand letters would recognize each other. The new one here that they had identified, where they have the C on the same DNA strand that bind to each other, where that usually doesn't happen like the twins, like the whispering bench and two of them coming together, which is like the rose, the two golden means coming together. Two parallel duplexes make a quadruplex structure. Its DNA sequences have been used as pH switches for nanotech applications, all right? So this has been around since 16. This article is in 18, but it's saying it started around 16. So here's like a picture. I tried to draw, it's a really rough picture. This is more even up top. But this is the DNA, the new DNA that they found, okay? So you see how there's a U structure here, which I was trying to explain before, like the Holy Grail is this new DNA, right? So here's what our normal DNA would look like, right? But here's this new sequence here. And going into more of that stent energy. And this, it looks like the U of the Einstein-Rosen bridge. So if you look up the Einstein-Rosen bridge, you'll see how it's displayed. It's usually like a U on its side with that stent wormhole going between the two sides. Where in this picture, the 0 was the thymine, the dot I wrote was the cytosine, and the X was the adenine. Formed in the late G1 phase in DNA development, and the telomeres, which is the key to aging, right, the ends there, the telomeres, And again, the sac being key, so there we go. There's our answers. The telomeres is the sac, which telomeres came up for me before this year. So that they are the key to aging, and that is the sac is the key. All right, so the little sacs at the end, they're tiny. And again, that's the same energy at the bottom of the lungs, right, that transfer to the other systems. It's very small and very delicate. So the sac is the key. The Irish Muslims came up here, as well as the sac of Baltimore, of Cork County, Ireland. The traitor and the DNA being key of John Hackett, I think, who gave up the town of Baltimore to the pirates for his safety. So again, he betrayed the town by telling the pirates of its location, because I guess it was such a peaceful, nice place to be. So the hanging man was the underlying energy here at the top of the deck. So right here, this top card, and then the mini cards on top. So the hanging man upright, seeing new perspectives, being wise, and below it is the Page of Swords, the Starseed reversed, the Ace of Wands upright, the Six of Pentacles upright, and the Seven of Pentacles reversed. So the Page of Swords message, perhaps they flopped or were embarrassed, the Fool reversed, at 710 of the Chariot and that high vibration of destiny, with a new passion to share the Divine Feminine's plan to implement hanging out and seeing new perspectives. With Dark Night, implementing a plan or investing in clarity or new information for emotional satisfaction or to make the family happy now that the worst is over of the past. And at 712, which is the Chariot and the Hanging Man, or this could be in the past a breakup or the ex. The Sovereign upright receives big information needing clarification from a negative group or third-party message, offering big love to those suffering in silence, or perhaps a sister who may be stressed out or not sleeping well, or purging at night. And the Chariot upright that's out of the gate, boldly coming toward Gemini reversed. Perhaps an ex or lack of affection here, or the Page of Swords or message offering love to open the gates, perhaps the floodgates. And remember when I talked, my title was The Deluge, and that was, I titled that video before I had my purge. I think that was that night, actually. So that could be an emotional purge, or literally we could be having a lot of rain or snow that comes up in the near future, I don't know. But a cold front definitely came in from yesterday to today. So again, the Page of Swords or a message offering love to open the gates for Cancer, and with Cancer definitely could be floodgates because there's a lot of emotionalism there, and Gemini or the twins, or to let the Chariot or car in the gated community, to let the games begin. As the Sovereign is upright, receives word from an uncredible source, also offering big love to those suffering, an attempt to take the show on the road with unhappy lovers. The dogs are aligned and standing guard. As the gate opens, the Divine Feminine within the Divine Masculine, which is the Chariot, all of a sudden rolls in. The Emperor afraid to look, as the Ten of Pentacles reverse, family, business, or community, with dysfunction or loss there, and the Magician's upright manifesting big to recover their losses, or letting the dogs back in, as not to destroy the flowers perhaps, or the Emperor's upright looking at the former employee, or spending money and recovering those left behind here by laying on their cards on the table and saying this is how it is, or stay optimistic. And below that, heart-to-heart conversations, or perhaps DNA to DNA, of C to C, or H to H. In need of a night out or dinner date with soulmate, sibling, or child, to hang out and inspect every inch, offering new passion, growth, or creativity, inspiration from the past. Burning in ovens, tied up in knots, the POW, sex slave, and Dorothy, along with her little Toto or caterpillar here, crossing ankles to block out other seers, pointing their toes as a distant relative or someone wondering what traits their baby will have from the family. Imagining all the conversations of two lovers would have together, or may have had in the past that they're now looking back on. At 736, which is the Chariot and the Atlas of the Weight of the World, and financial discipline, and beneath that, manifestation. The financial discipline of the 48 and the walking away within of the 8 of Cups, and the manifestation of the 8 of the dance between the masculine and the feminine. As the Emperor's reversed here, out of control, or down, withholding, or saving for a new life, or playing hardball and found a way out to justice for all, or for Capricorn reversed or Libra upright, walking away from the Queen of Swords reversed and with messy emotions after a sudden event, or the Queen of Swords reversed, resisting sudden changes, or her master plan, with Aries and Capricorn reversed and Scorpio, but Libra upright here. Leaving poop in the yard may be their plan, right? That someone can't stand to make them leave. Leaving poop in the yard with a mess, that will surely get them to leave. With not so sudden change, after sudden event and finding a way out, with X or in a breakup, recovering or letting two back in from the past, perhaps who were financially disciplined. At 7:43, which is the Chariot and the Three of Cups. So that could be someone who did something bad at work and they were on suspension or something like that, or maybe they were fired or laid off and then called back in. And maybe there was someone you didn't necessarily want to bring back in, but maybe you had a change of heart. At 7:43, which 7 would be written that way, the 43-7. Oh, by the way, Alex Collier said those Black League ships, the Dragonflies, were like the ships in the new Dune movie. If you've seen it, I haven't. So or resisting sudden changes here, and an awakening with lovers, recovering with each other about the past, no longer present. With issues at work, working to align over time with the Knight of Cups to offer love to the Page of Wands reversed and the Knight of Wands upright, detoxing behaviors or illness. Implementing a plan to invest or pay off in the Queen of Swords reversed, with the Hermit's help to shed light along with the Page of Wands reversed, who may be frustrated or out of control, or perhaps sick or not feeling well. The Dark Knight exposed, or Death be not proud, transition to see kids or vacation, or grieving or feeling bad about letting go and dropping the ball, the act, or knocked for a loop in front of the Ten of Cups upright family and the King of Cups with the King of Pentacles reversed, and the Knight of Swords reversed with the Page of Cups reversed, all satisfied about starting over, or no longer bored with the Empress upright, coming clean or getting clean or cleaning up their act, coming clean perhaps to the High Priestess about guard or 2 guards there at all hours so that their work won't be disturbed or distracted, or perhaps it's classified work, or virus or fumigating. Oh, that's so funny because the castle is being fumigated in Versailles. So all that kind of stuff is coming up. At 8 o'clock, which is double zeros or source energy, backing up the 8, the dance, picking apart every last thing, credit, or doing taxes there. In the recent past is the Knight of Pentacles reversed, unable to function or stuck, stubborn or disabled, as the Hermit inspects or announces their findings, as a wake-up call to the instability of a house or office and or rejected, or the Page of Cups reversed, vulnerable, or one leaves the house and the Queen of Cups is moving out, visiting the King of Wands, who may be uncomfortable with their emotions about the King of Swords reversed, or home or office of the Queen of Cups and the King of Wands may not be safe for the King of Swords reversed to enter due to him being sick or a child being sick, or a vulnerable child they don't want exposed, or waiting to get an all clear from the inspector or an estimate here. The King of Swords reversed, with Aquarius and Virgo making them very uncomfortable, or the King of Swords reversed hiding behind the Queen of Cups for safe passage to or from the King of Cupses, or a stowaway. The foundation is the Knight of Cups, satisfied with the Page of Wands upright and the King of Wands upright, fighting or playing, or made someone feel bad or guilty, as the Knight of Wands rushes in to the rescue, or the Knight of Wands rushes in and sad to see people fighting, or they're late for the game. And the Page of Wands and King of Wands have been having a great time, and perhaps the Knight of Wands is now sad because they missed some of the game, or all of it perhaps, I don't know. But 8-12 here is the dance in the 12 of the Hanging Man, where the central energy is the Six of Wands upright and the Queen of Cups upright without option, but justice in receiving big love from destined Knight of Pentacles reversed, or an offer of apology, can't work, or disabled, or not working to enjoy love with Justice Libra without options, and put to with no options but to lead the way with good news, or divorce that's finalized or leading in a spiritual community here. So at 8:15, which is the dance of the devil, the challenge being the Three of Pentacles reversed, with reputation to uphold and issues at work, with the Star, Aquarius, or Dream Girl, or High Priestess embarrassing the imprisoned Knight of Cups reversed, or Scorpio who's jealous, or suddenly explodes, or falling star, or many in the sky, and feeling rejected suddenly between the Knight of Cups reversed and the High Priestess, or Scorpio upright and Pisces upright here. Hanging out with X and rising above, or awakening to divine lovers, hung out to dry and levitating. Success in battle, seeing a conflict or sexual conquest, or group refusing to make an offer, withholding or saving, or playing hardball or hardball match, and confessing only because they got caught. The Empress upright and the Queen of Swords reversed, perhaps Aquarius, or Taurus with Aquarius in their chart, or a wake-up call, or judgment of patient angel, or Aquarius and Sag both upright here, may have been caught together. As the Knight of Wands rushes in, the Knight of Pentacles reversed is looking back at their partner for support. And at 8:25, the dance of the Knight of Wands, now crowning, is the Eight of Wands upright, that energetic exchange of arrows of love or lots of communication and travel back and forth. Splattering all over, perhaps energy or paint, and being patient with the Page of Swords, stepping up, ready to swing, with the ball machine perhaps. The Page of Pentacles is out of options, and the Queen of Wands is defending her honor. Coming clean after sudden event or energetic exchange with third party. The King of Swords reversed and the Queen of Cups upright, moving to peace from the King of Cups, settling out or going back to work. The Page of Pentacles may be hurting themselves still, or allowing the Knight of Pentacles reversed to get them drunk. And the Queen of Pentacles reversed may be embarrassed by their child or their younger sibling, or falling for narcissistic Hierophant, devil, or leaving the Page of Pentacles upright and the Knight of Pentacles reversed with a narcissistic old man, and the Queen of Pentacles reversed lacking faith in Capricorn, or temptation with big love at work and reputation. Bringing good news to Sovereign, big love at work with Star and Queen of Cups, or the Sovereign and the Knight of Swords reversed Aquarius, or Dream holding their tongue as not to start a war with the Queen of Cups who's heavily guarded, or guarding her prized possession, which could be a person. With Capricorn, a codependency, with Taurus reversed and narcissistic and lazy, comes in to find lovers at work. Earth sign Sovereign, Star or Aquarius reversed, Knight of Swords reversed, between her and the Queen of Cups, perhaps on guard and ready to attack. And soon the Eight of Swords upright, in a prison of hiding, or the Queen of Pentacles reversed Taurus, lacking faith in Capricorn, expecting to walk in on him and the Queen of Cups. The Aquarius or Taurus, and lashing out, while the Queen of Cups stands strong, defending their position. Soon imprisoned or anxious in a split or lie at work, with the High Priestess or religious woman or Aquarius, and the Queen of Swords reversed, letting go to fix or make amends, or so that they can go back to work. At 8:41, which is the dance and the 41 of new love, spiritual love, or self-love, at 9 o'clock on the dot right now. So a lot of source energy backing up the 9, or completion, compassion. With the Page of Pentacles, maybe stressed and studying, right, because they're that perfect student, or sister, or suffering in silence until all hours of the night, or all honors. With dysfunctional family or loss, and the Page of Pentacles recovering from justice and divorcing or Libra or court, the twin flames seeing themselves as the Two of Cups upright, and the Six of Cups upright, which is beautiful, loving energy, with synchronicities in heaven in their eyes, withholding from Taurus reversed and Leo reversed, or divorce and egos, with stars and dreams and playing hardball, or saving for divorce and weak, with dream girl third party, or performing and juggling, satisfied in connection, or comparing notes and seeing eye to eye, or synchronicities in partnership, freeing self, expressing your love with deception or masked people, and yes, it is safe for you to love. Heaven in their eyes, and around the twins are how they're seen, is the sunshine, in energetic exchange or arrows of love, with sunshine kids in the Empress upright, or Leo to Leo, or Empress with twins, dumping a load, a burden, or responsibilities at 848, confessing uncomfortable with feelings, and receiving the Ace of Wands upright from the Chariot, Cancer, or Chariots of Fire, or Cancer growth, uncomfortable emotions, or unable to perform, with lots of radiation treatments with the Empress upright, or one who works with sick kids perhaps, or exposing energetic exchange of day to day with the Empress and confessing discomfort of Cancer, offering passion, growth, and creativity at 852, the dance or strength or manifesting of dreams of the Queen of Swords. The block here is the Queen of Swords reversed, the sister, or the suffering in silence, the heartbreak at night, or Cancer, or the Page of Pentacles busy at work trying to see every angle or perspective, or looking at x-rays to treat a patient with family dysfunction or loss, and great heartbreak at night perhaps, with intuition, leadership, but even more so effort and individuality, with the Chariot of Hatari in a two-bull split, releasing of the bulls to find peace with their lover, working with crystals to the portal and come clean or cleaning up the act or space, with the Queen of Cups and the Knight of Wands, and the Knight and the Three of Wands looking back, stuck in the past connection. No information in or out here. Someone's blocking something from getting in or out. The Five of Swords and the Nine of Wands guards for the King of Pentacles reversed or in guarded condition. No one in, no one out, and feeling weak. With the Ten of Pentacles reversed, family, business, or community reversed, which is a dysfunction or loss, with new information destined to come full circle around the world or when cycle completes, or Pisces in Divine Feminine marching to the beat of their own drum at 903, the Hermit and the Empress, ba-bum, ba-bum, sealed naturally. The Hanging Man hanging out satisfied with Two of Cups, sunshine, Knight of Pentacles reversed with good news and leading the way, challenged by issues at work and hiding from the Queen of Swords reversed. That can also be an early delivery there with the baby. And somebody might have had twins. Maybe they didn't know they were having twins and the twins got delivered early. At 9:05, the Hermit again and the Hierophant in energetic exchange at work without passing information, and the Ten of Pentacles reversed, family, business, or community with dysfunction or loss, with new information or clarity of their destiny. Inspired to share and implement a plan, to hang out with the Knight of Pentacles reversed after sudden events, and to be happy with good news of energetic exchange, challenged by issues at work. The Two of Cups partners, right, or friends or soulmates, imprisoned or hiding from exposure to the Queen of Swords reversed, who may be working to align without passing information, in need of courage to jump through hoops or jump the broom perhaps, with the Ten of Pentacles, family, business, or community dysfunction or loss, with the new information that knocked them off balance regarding their destiny and the world at 9/11. Okay? So, a comment that Alex Collier also made on that video was he was talking about UK, or the Ukraine actually, that's actually still, it's not a separate entity from Russia actually, because they never confirmed any treaty. So they're still really an extension of Russia. And talking about that, again, like 9/11 was supposed to be actually us doing it to ourselves on purpose, right? The elites doing it to us because they wanted to maintain control. The same energy was coming up from what he was saying here, them suspecting that mercenaries within the Ukraine bombing their own country. And again, there were adrenochrome labs found there as well, a lot of them, a lot of biolabs there. So a lot of stuff coming up, guys. And you might be feeling the intense energies of the war because you're feeling the collective. So let's see, what are we going to pull? We're going to pull from the Shaman Dreams. Let's see what comes up. Yeah, please add to the comments anything that is related to what you've been getting, but that I didn't say. Please add that to the comments. We need to put all the pieces together for the collective, guys. All right, so for shaman dreams, let's see what comes up here. Take another deep breath. Okay, it's coming right out. Fool's embrace, transmuting pain. And earlier I was getting this peach energy. And again, the orange, pink and yellow is coming up too for that compassion energy. Fool's embrace, transmuting pain. Perhaps you need to sit in child's pose for a moment. Or just give yourself a hug of compassion and confidence at the same time. We also have the eyes of the eagle here. There's the eagle eye, which can represent Michael Sala too. That's his symbol. The eyes of the eagle rising above the fray to transmute pain in the fool's embrace, right? Having an open heart and that leap of faith. And this is about laser focus. The eye of the eagle, which is that masculine drive, the number one of innovation and having blinders on like the horses, right? Super focused. And then we have this too, the feast of plenty of choices and their consequences. And remember, it's all about your belief system. So just because something affects one person one way doesn't mean that's true for you. So why are you taking their truth on when you know it not to be true for you? And there's a bee here too. And there's crystals sticking out of this with the knives, like the sword and the stone. But there's two twin swords in the stone. The feast of plenty of choices and their consequences. And then the hollow bone of teachability. Okay, so we talk about the hollow instrument, the hollow human, the hollow bone, the hollow shell, that which makes noise or resonates, makes sound, the 28 of the twin flames. And this death of this moose, or whatever it is, and all of these feathers of the birds here hung on it, making good use of that which is gone. You know, this animal may have died a natural life, and making use of the bones left over, making art, right? That's alchemy. Art is taking something and making it something else. The feast of plenty, your choices and their consequences. So do you want to take something negatively? Or perhaps a death of something and then making it into something beautiful. Resonating, hollowing something, emptying out the insides in order to make beautiful sound. And then the deep diver of diving deep into that task, right? Finding that wound to get it out. The bottom of the deck is the whale's song. And there's that bubble. This is the bubble that those I think it was 12 soldiers that were found in, where they walked into a room, literally saw these 12 soldiers drowning in this bubble. And they literally had to reach their hands into these guys. There was light and sound all around, and they just pulled them all out before they drowned. So the whale song resonating, and there's the new plants and the mushrooms and it looks like jellyfish, but it's the same type of energy that we're getting a new plant from one of our extra dimensional friends who will be giving us a new plant that will help us with certain things on our planet. So there's the whale's song, and then the horseman there. There's Mr. Ed, the herald of change with the Knight of Wands rushing in for union there and taking a risk with the whale and the bubble. And there's the deep diver, right? There's the diver going down to get the whale to rescue them so they don't drown in the bubble. Very interesting. The whale can represent the arcs at the bottom of the sea as well, right? Because they're vessels that are conscious down there, which people can actually be in without drowning at the bottom of the sea. It's a protective, like a submarine, it's protective. Taking a risk to go down, Ganymede, I'm just getting now. Taking a risk, maybe a portal there. I don't know which arcs go to Ganymede, maybe all of them do. So Ganymede is the moon of Jupiter, where the JP is reported to from before Ganymede. He's been there. And then the mothership's up there too. So that's not the Galactic Federation ship, because I think that one is near Mars. But this is the higher vibrational ship of the 9 that's, or whoever's coming in, of higher vibration, which require the arcs to stabilize them. That's what I'm getting. Nobody else has said that. But I actually commented on Michael Sala's video, but I don't think he answers most of his comments, or he doesn't answer mine anyway. I try to get my info out there, because if it's real, it's real, you know. So I'm sure it will get to who it's supposed to get to if needed. Okay. This is him coming out in a bunch of 4. Is it 4? Yeah, 4 cards. So the Rings of Time. So this is the old, right? Being outdated. The 44 of the grounding, integrating, and mastering of love, or boredom and apathy. It's how you see it, but it's really boredom is time for you to ground and integrate and go within. The Rings of Time, the rings of the tree, the ring that came up restricting the blood flow in the finger, right? As we get swollen in our older age and we get bound to a wheelchair because our circulation isn't good anymore. And this is very much of that Thoth energy, of that scientific knowledge perspective, and the Rings of Time, again, that are getting outdated, because we won't need to necessarily understand everything to intuit everything in the future and use our consciousness to run things. The Woman of Light and the 49 of the 9 of Cups, of getting their wish, of self-satisfaction, receiving the light. And I think Sam was talking about us getting a big light send this week, which he said the gift we're getting in March. And we're supposed to get a big upgrade to our abilities as well, to our DNA actually. So is the feminine receiving the light here as the older outdated. Okay. And then the 13 of gifts then being received. So that's confirming that what Sam has said is true, that we're getting an upgrade to our gifts and DNA. And the bride offers herself. And there's that, this is all the chaos right now in the world. And yet the bride is still willing to stand right in the middle of that vortex, in the middle of that chaos, and stay calm, but still at the same time saying, okay, what the heck? What's going on? The bride offers herself, the 43 of coming together with the 3 of Cups. And there she is again, standing in the wall as things start to calm down across the waters with the King of Wands, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay? So the 43 and 44 of the coming together of the cups, and then the going within of the cups to ground and integrate these new abilities and letting the old fall away. The bride offers herself in all the chaos, which then makes it all better, like the mother making the boo-boo all better. All she has to do is offer her love, open her heart, and be there in the chaos to transmute the energies. And then the 60 of peace and riding the cosmic wave. Right into the arms of the heart of God. And there's that portal, riding the wave into the portal of God's heart. Okay, so that's that energy. And then it's always a story. Then the sacred convergence. So there's the twin flames. This is 9/11. This is the 9/11 memorial and the push pop coming up with a projection of extra dimensional or ETs coming in, perhaps to give us a message or a word or a performance there, like we are the world. And then this is the back of the deck, self-initiation, the 12 of wisdom, and seeing a new perspective on your world. So I think that might be the gift in July that Elena was hinting at. I don't think she knew exactly, but I think we may be getting a projection in New York, like I've been talking about a long time, about around the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, and the 9/11 memorial. And then again today, Long Island, and what was the other island coming up? No, I think that was on Long Island, yeah, the bay or the beach. So the bottom of the deck, again, is a strangled fallopian tube. This also can be the color of gangrene, but it also can be the color of olive oil. So again, there may be some strangulation here, a loss of circulation, whether it's a fallopian, ectopic pregnancy, or just the pearl being created is feeling cut. The supply is being cut off. The 29 of the, it's going to get oxygen supply being cut off too. The 29 of the 3 of Wands being present in the moment are the gifts, of the spiral dance of the goddess. I'd like to read that one, actually. So this is tunneling through. It's like the worm. It's the fallopian tubes. It's a tunnel that may get cut off and somebody can't get out, right? And this is where the bacteria creates the pearl. But if it never gets to the stage of the pearl before the supply of life is cut off, this is being present in the moment. Again, talking about circulation being cut off. Your creative energy being cut off. Beneath it is acceptance of the 55, of the truth, and of this beautiful forest of heaven on earth, and someone being witness to it. You know, witnessing the great sentinels, witnessing the twin flames, the starseeds, those who have come here, the seeders, the wanderers and the wanderers. The spiral dance of the goddess after accepting the truth of the simplicity of the emperor there. He's just a little plump mouse and a blade of grass, or one blade left to shave, and the bird flying overhead, the four of simplicity of the emperor and stability, and the acceptance of the enchanted forest that they live in, of nature, and perhaps their flow being restricted a bit. Okay, as they get older, as we all get older. But again, it's all about perspective. We can heal ourselves. So this is what we're teaching each other. So let's see what that says. So the first card out was the Rings of Time, but I do want to also read the Spiral Dance of the Goddess first. That was the underlying energy, because that's where the strangled off energy is. So I'm going to see what that message is. So the Spiral Dance of the Goddess is from a point of light unfolding. We become a soul, then incarnate into a sacred body, and our lives become, I was just getting the Louis bodies again, and our lives become a work of divine art, a speck of heavenly presence manifesting itself through dimensions of time and space, and into a life on earth made manifest. The extraordinary fact of your existence is a divine happening. As though the light of the moon is dancing, not only upon the water, but inside of the water, your ancient light is dipping into the mud of the earth. This is how the soul becomes a divine human in the making. As you sense yourself moving and shifting from light to dark and back again, from knowing to unknowing, you are weaving your consciousness, your divinity into sacred expression, manifesting your soul essence into the form of your life, threading the light through the darkness. Without even realizing you are doing it, you are gently impregnating the matter of your body, of your life, with light. Your body and your life become luminous, radiant, and you assist others even just through your presence. It sounds wonderful, and it is, yet it's not always an easy path. As the light travails through the darkness, the pain and suffering can arise in waves. Best to be present to it and trust that it's not a permanent condition, and wait for the spiral to twist from dark to light again, always moving closer and closer to the purity of the center and expanding outward externally, as though you were being inhaled by the divine, filling cosmic lungs as they reach far and wide, taking in all of life. The message of this oracle to you is that you're growing. You're bringing more of your light into form. You may be meeting obstacles in yourself and in the world, but this is because you're bringing through the light. If there were nothing happening, there would be no obstacle. Bless them as signs that you're proceeding and empower them no more. You shall be, all else is just divine timing. The inner movement, an expressive flow, an outward breath of dance and light, becoming one, becoming free. And the next page in Towering Magnificence of number 30 and Divine Union there. So let me read you the other one too, the Rings of Time, which was first. And that's 44. I opened up to 33, which is God Speaks. Rings of Time is divine timing is granted to us as a gift. Sometimes if we want to be further ahead than we are, that gift can seem like a restriction of flow rather than generous holding. Much like traffic that moves systematically so that not only one car but many can reach their destination according to a greater harmony and alignment, we are like individual cars that must sometimes accept red lights and other times can flow swiftly through many green lights. It's just this way, this systematic flow of divine energy through human manifestation. Your spiritual maturation is happening perfectly, and there's no need to bother yourself about timing. When doors open, walk through. When there appear to be no such openings, rest and reflect. The rings of time serve you, beloved. This oracle brings you a message that the divine is completely responsible for the timing of every event, opportunity, and happening of grace in your life. All you need to do is live your life. Everything else is taken care of for you now. This applies to all of your plans and the unfolding of all of your relationships. Let it all breathe, and let the divine happen as it will. And the poem simply reads, there is a beautiful silence now as I hold your hands and listen to your eyes across the span of moments called time. There are no words that say as much, nor walls that could confine the wings of our feelings or the rhythm of our eyes. I invite you to drink plenty of water and get your rest and joy in nature and follow your own guidance. Breathe and rise and be love, you guys. Breathe and rise and be love. I'll see you soon. Have an amazing day. Bye.